Welcome back to LSR TV as we get set for a restart here in the RSR Full Throttle Cup Series presented by Gary Mercer Trucking and Sim Experience at Atlanta Motor Speedway. Boomtown Sim on the front row. Anthony DeBarro, Mitch Rollo going to lead the field back to green with 24 laps complete. Jacob Seelman, Evan Pasoko, Brian Macklin in the broadcast booth as the American Childhood Cancer Organization pace car eases back onto pit road, and the American Ethanol green flag flies once again. Well-orchestrated restart for the two teammates as DeBarro sweeps up in front of Mitch Rollo, and they lead Brian to turns 1 and 2. I'm telling you, though, keep an eye on some of these guys who are now shuffled a little closer to the front. I'm watching a battle right now. Jose Gonzalez going for fourth on Chad Cole. Gonzalez up in the top 5 for the first time tonight.
Yeah, he tried to make that move. It wasn't quite able to work, and now here comes David Comstock to the outside, trying to make his way back to the front. He lost a couple of positions on pit road, fell back to the 6th position, and now he's battling to the outside of Jose Gonzalez as they work down into 1, up against the wall, rim riding now. He's trying to sneak out to the outside of Tim Matthews, not quite able to do it, but he's going to have the momentum down the back straightaway, and that's going to get him clear of Jose Gonzalez in that meatball machine, and now he sets his sights again. He's up there again in the middle of 3 and 4, trying to make that high line work again. It opens the door for Jose Gonzalez, and it looks like he's going to be able to shut it. Wow, big move now. He jumps to the inside of Tim Matthews going to 1.
David Comstock, Evan, for about 2/3 of a lap there, was trying to make a third lane work here at Atlanta, and you so rarely see that. I don't know where he's trying to find the racing room, but boy, that Monster Energy Chevrolet can run anywhere tonight.
Yeah, that's the fun of this track, and especially on the restarts. We haven't seen it yet. That second caution came at lap 20, but there was already a yellow about 1.5 laps into this race. When you get 20 laps under green, the tires go away. You can't do that anymore. The reason they fall off so quick is because you know that proverbial cliff is coming. You want to get everything you can out of these fresh tires, and you saw the 14 machine there, down to the inside, back on the throttle, and it made it look easy. Getting around Chad Cole, drop it at 8 machine 4th.
The problem is here, Brian, if you're David Comstock and you're going like gangbusters this early in the run, you got to start worrying, don't you, about that car coming back to you at the end of the run and not having any tires left to use. I mean, he's been almost burning that left front clean off it here with as hard as he's been diving into the corners.
Yeah, in this situation, he's either banking on more cautions, and that's why he is driving it as hard as he is, because he's expecting to have another caution in 10 to 15 laps, or he has a strategy where he's going to come to pit road earlier than everybody else once the tires do. Have a strategy where they go 30 laps or so and then they come to pit road. But at this rate, I don't think he can afford to go that long before his tires start falling off. He's going to have to pit between 20 and 25 laps, running as hard as he is right here. So I certainly think he's, at this point, just running with the assumption we're going to have more cautions. If it stays green, it probably is going to backfire on him.
Well, it may get him to the lead and at least get a bonus point out of it first, because he has hunted down Anthony DeBarro in a big hurry. The battle for the lead off turn 2 and down the back straightaway is 2 car lengths between DeBarro in the Caterpillar Chevrolet SS and Comstock in the Gary Mercer Trucking Monster Energy Chevrolet. The 9 and the 14 to turn 4, but caution flag flies for the 3rd time at lap 31. The 62 William Hale in the Custom Gaming Garage entry in trouble.
Down the backstretch for the 2nd time tonight. This one, though, not a single car accident. In front of him, the 42 is Scott Stenzel, pushing up the track, coming off of the corner. I would say more so Stenzel there, Jacob, is just swinging off of the corner as opposed to sliding up into the 62. I don't think he was expecting a big run for Hale to come on the outside like that, and he comes up over the nose of William Hale. The 62 goes down, and he spins it back up and does a couple of loops in front of traffic. They scatter, and I think a couple of guys get a small piece of it, including the 4 of C.J. LaVere, who tagged the fence pretty hard after the contact. He also gets some damage to the 36 of Rich Jett.
It's been about 8 laps, but nobody cares. They're all back on pit road right now, Brian, and everybody headed to the attention of their crews. That's how important tires are here. We ran 8 laps on a set of tires. They fell off a second.
Yeah, 8 laps. It doesn't matter if they run 4 or 5 laps. They're coming to their pit crew, and they're going to get 4 fresh tires. cleanly. Same with David Comstock and the rest of your front runners. Got the right sides up. No two-tire calls, but I told you before we weren't going to see it. Left side tires up. Is Anthony DeBarro going to win the race off pit road? Yes, he is. Very easily going to win this race off pit road. The battle's going to be for second. It looks like David Comstock's going to beat Chad Cole off pit road, so that's going to be your front three. And then you have Mitch Rollo in fourth, and you also have Jose Gonzalez back in the fifth. And correction, I do believe Stefan Marinak might have beat him off pit road. We do have one guy that stayed out. Doug Roth stayed out, most likely just to lead a lap to get the bonus point. I'm sure he'll come to pit road this time by, but as of right now, he is your race leader.
Under caution, working the third caution of the night with going to be 33 laps complete when they got back to the start-finish line this time. And I'm liking the run for some of these guys from the back of the pack, especially the 43 of Doug Roth, who has come through the field, biggest mover so far, up 25 and just blinked out of the sim. So, you know, we what is this, Evan? LSR TV curse?
That's on you, not me. I didn't say anything. That one's on you.
I'm not even. I'm just not.
I'm not
just
a part
not
of
at this point. You know, in the same vein as Doug Roth, though, David Washington started 40th on a provisional, up 22. He rides 18th right now. And how about a shout out to the 51 of Nick Silver in the gain machine? 36 to 15th, Evan. And we know Silver is one that can drive his way, hustle it through the field. This is a track really that suits his style, in my opinion, because he's not afraid to give it all it's got and really, to use the word one more time, hustle that car around the racetrack.
And it is still a young evening here in Atlanta, Jacob. Going to be, I'd say, 90 laps to go or so. If the lights go off this time by, we'll have 90 laps remaining. We have yet to see these cars on a long run, which I think, Brian, is really what dictates Atlanta. We've seen crazy restarts, sure. The fun starts when we get a 20-lap green flag stretch. I don't think we're going to go a race without seeing that, so the fun is yet to begin, I'd say.
Yeah, at some point we're going to see a long green flag run. There's no doubt in my mind. These guys are just being very aggressive, and at some point they're going to have to calm down and just try to log laps and get into a rhythm here. And when you see that, that's when we're going to start seeing the long green flag runs. Like you said, this is what dictates Atlanta. We saw it on Sunday in the Sprint Cup Series. They ran 210 laps to start off the race, green flag. So, and they only had one more caution other than the caution on the last lap. That's what this track is all about. And at some point, we're going to see that long green flag run set in. And when it does, you're going to see the drivers that know how to drive this track after 15 laps, after 20 laps, after 30 laps. You're going to see those drivers come to the front. And you're going to see the ones that are using their stuff up. So far, like we've seen David Comstock do, they're going to fall backwards. So it's going to be very interesting to see how this race plays out once that finally happens.
Evan, would I be remiss if I pointed out that Anthony DeBarro has led all 30, what's going to be 35 laps that we've run so far tonight? I mean, if there's a dominant car in the field not named David Comstock, who I'm going to be interested to see what he can do on the front row right here, it would be that 9-finning Caterpillar machine. These two on the front row, I think, are about to give us a pretty darn good show.
And because of the fact that he came across the start-finish line last week in second but got the win, he wants to go back-to-back. I said that you're not going to be able to lead all 125 so far. He's looking good.
He is looking good. Pace car back to pit road. Our third American Ethanol restart of the night. Green flag goes in the air. David Comstock, a bad restart. Looked like he spun the tires a little bit. Going to give up at least one spot, maybe two right here. Mitch Rollo to the bottom of the racetrack going for third. Drop Comstock from second to fourth as DeBarro gets away in a big hurry. Side by side back in the pack. Battles on between Daniel Eberhardt and Tim Matthews for seventh in turn 3.
And a little bit of 3 wide in that as well. We see the 34 slide to the outside. That's Sean Boundy up the bottom. The place to be. Huge head of steam for Nicholas Cohen, who started 19th first time tonight inside of the top 10. On the bottom, he works, looks to the inside of Matt Lacrosse. Not going to happen. Lacrosse can't stay to the bottom of Eberhardt. Those three will single file out, leaving the 34 and the 54 to fight behind him.
How about the run by Sean Boundy here early in the race, though? I mean, we know him predominantly in that 34 car as a plate track specialist, Brian, but Boundy doing a great job riding the colors for Corbin Hemstreet, the Finning Caterpillar entry, because Corbin not with us this week or next week at Las Vegas. Top 10 after starting 29th on an intermediate track. That's no small feat for a driver who I've been very high on the last couple of years as he's gotten his feet wet here in RSR. Really excited to see this run from him tonight.
Yeah, I'm excited to see it too. He's had a good start to this race. He's climbed up inside the top 10, and it looks like he wants to get a little bit further up towards the front. He's got a very good-looking car. I love the paint scheme. It looks awesome. I just want to throw that out there. We're on board with him right now, and you can see he is just moving up through this field very, very quickly and methodically. And if he can manage his tires like it looks like he's doing right now, I think you'll see him come closer to the front once the tires start to fall off. I know we keep talking about that, but tires are so key here. If they get a long green flag running, that's going to be the most important part of this race, is who manages their tires the best. And I'm really hoping we get that long green flag run so we can see the comers and goers of this race.
I got a little bit nervous right there, Brian. Watch the freight train just ahead of him, and now you're going to see side-by-side action going on for the 6th position. Matt Lacrosse, 21, inside Thomas George, 24. But I was getting nervous, Evan, with that 61 right ahead of Boundy when we were on board with him, that K&N Toyota for Nick Cohan. He was all over the back deck lid of Dan Eberhardt for that 8th position. I thought maybe there was going to be some contact right there between the two of them last time by.
While the speeds are up and while there's lots of movement, you wouldn't know by how aggressive these guys are getting up on each other. Battle for the race lead. Now a second in front of the fight we've been talking about. Mitch Rollo took a peek, he backs out of it, and he'll look for a run coming off of turn number 4. DeBarro outside the 96 has a run. Could he get a run in time to get to the inside before turn number 1? Not going to happen that time. Gap remains half a car length at lap 42 to the inside. Center off goes the 96. Drag race down the backstretch. DeBarro's got the banking working to his advantage. He'll stay in front. Rollo tries to hang on to the bottom. Can't do it.
DeBarro throws the block on him right there to hold the lead off turn 4. There, I'm telling you, they keep this up. Chad Cole and Stefan Marinak are going to be in this in a heartbeat. They've got to be careful. They are really tight together here with 42, working 43 laps on the board. Now these two Chevrolet SS machines for Boomtown Sim out in front of the field. DeBarro now extends the gap to 2 car lengths. But again, Chad Cole, half a second back in third, can never discount him. He is trying to make something happen here tonight and really doing a solid job, looking for his first RSR Full Throttle Cup Series victory in 2 years, holding down a pretty position on the podium, Brian, right now in that 8 machine. Cole, does he break the drought tonight?
This is probably one of the best tracks for him to do it at, and you see he's running really good. He qualified third. He's sitting third. I think he's gotten into a tire conservation strategy because he's kept pace with these guys all race long until this run. Same can be said for David Comstock. So he finally decided he's ready to take a chance on it going green for a while and is saving his stuff. This is where it's going to be a disadvantage to these two Boomtown Sim cars at the front because they're running hard. They've been racing each other for the race lead. They've been running pretty hard the entire time. So if this thing stays green here, they could be in trouble because the rest of those guys behind them, they're not pushing as hard as they were earlier in the race.
Update back in the field. Dwayne Vincent, who had a all-terrain skirmish through the grass earlier on in this race in the Haviland Ford, had to restart 40th. He rides 23rd right now, has picked his way back through about 17 cars in that number 13, the defending RSR Full Throttle Cup Series champion right now, trying to work over Ross Cato for that 22nd position. But these are the kind of things you look for, Evan, from Dwayne if he gets into trouble early in the race. He's just got to be methodical. There wasn't any damage to that machine, and he's just taking his time. He knows there's a lot of this race to go. 80, going to be 79 laps to go this time by. But you look who he's going up against here in a minute. Dan Murray, who we saw at the front of this field inside the top 5 early on, has fallen back to the 21st position. I'm really surprised by that JBL Toyota.
Yeah, Murray was strong, and he qualified inside of the top 5, and he was the second best driver to qualify in a practice session earlier tonight. He started outside of the top 10, though, and he's just kind of slid back from there. He'll lose another. Here comes the number 13 of Dwayne Vincent. Vincent puts Ross Cato back down to 23rd, and he'll take 21st away from the number 5 Toyota. So while that 5 falls back, it's Dwayne Vincent who continues to surge, now 28th to 21st, trying to get his way all the way back up through the field and into a competitive position by the time we get into the closing laps of this race, with the 5, the 7, and the 12 left in the dust to do battle for themselves. Well, they battle right now what's going to be 5.5 seconds behind your race leader, Anthony DeBarro.
Yeah, and 3.5 seconds behind DeBarro is a driver I've been watching this entire race, and a couple of teammates right now getting ready to go at it for P12. Carl Shedd has it. Dave Washington Motorsports, who started 40th on a provisional, up to 13th, our biggest mover of the race so far, and he is stalking his teammate. Looking to the inside in turn 1. There is nothing doing there, but these two doing a nice job, and Shedd almost gets up and gets a piece of the safer barrier. He was way high there going into turn 1 on entry, Brian, and you've got to be careful. You don't want to scrape that right rear quarter panel off these walls. It'll really mess with the handling of your race car.
Yeah, this Sprint Cup Series car is so delicate. If you get up against that wall and you crinkle one of the fenders, it's going to affect the handling, it's going to affect the speed for the rest of the night. Even if you come to pit road and have your pit crew work on it and try to beat those fenders back out, it's still going to affect the handling and speed for the rest of the night. So you need to be very careful when you're threading the needle like that. Oh, as we got contact up further ahead of the Nicholas Cohan. I'm sorry, in the number 51 or 61 machine, yes, Nicholas Cohan got into the wall off turn 2, and that's what I'm talking about right there. You don't want to make that mistake. He got too close to the wall, and off turn 2 he couldn't keep it off the wall, and now he's got heavy right side damage, and we're probably going to see him slide backwards here as the next couple of laps. That's the type of mistake you don't want to make, especially this early in the race. There's still over 70 laps left in this race. You need to keep those fenders clean for as long as possible. You don't want to have a beat-up car this early on.
Talking about somebody creeping their way towards the front, Evan, how about the defending race winner in the Napa Auto Parts Chevrolet, the 24 of Thomas George, started 17th, ride 6th, won this race last year, did it about like he's doing right now. He never dominated the race, but he worked his way to the front and was there when it counted. I like what he's doing. I like that he's keeping himself in contention. I say the 24 has a shot to win this race later on. Maybe pulls some pit strategy to do it, depending on how a start shakes out. But I'm telling you, he's going to be a factor.
Yeah, there's no doubt that there's going to be a big difference going from P6 to P1 than there was going 17th to 6th. But he did make a couple of good moves early. He's found a good balance in front of them. The 21 of Matt Lacrosse sideways. What a save in turn number 2. Lacrosse going to hang on. The 14 of Comstock was right there on the bumper. Checks up in time to not plow into the back of him. He'll take a spot away. That 24 will also, and now tight with the 90 of Eberhardt on the outside of the 99 of Marinac as Matt Lacrosse tries to regain his footing.
Hold your breath. It is getting tight right here, boys, because Lacrosse, like Evan said, nearly went for a ride. It cost him 2 spots, may cost him 4 by the time it's done. Eberhardt working his way through on the outside to P6, and there are wiggles all over the place. Another one nearly going for a ride. The 86 of William Amaker in 6th. Just had a wild ride back in turn 1.
Yeah, they've gotten to that point of the race where the tires are really starting to fall off. You're seeing all these guys are all over the place. The 00 also just had a big wiggle off of turn 4. Anthony Fredericks, he is out of control right now, and he's sliding backwards. And you see a lot of these guys really starting to skate around on these older tires. And we almost have more trouble. These guys are all over the place right now. Thomas George having a big moment there just a couple of seconds ago. These guys are just... They're having to get up on the wheel, and this is where the racing is really going to start getting exciting. I want to point out at the front, Chad Cole is starting to sneak his way up there. He's gotten down to just under half a second behind the 2 Boomtown Sim cars at the front. That tire conservation strategy is starting to pan out for him, and he's right there now. If these guys slip up at all, he's going to take the race lead.
I'm not so sure it's going to take a slip up. I think if Chad Cole has saved his tires right, he'll be able to pass them on his own. 56 going to be 57. Last time by the stripe. Anthony DeBarro, Mitch Rollo, Chad Cole in your frame as the top three. David Comstock, Thomas George, the rest of the front five. Then it's Daniel Eberhardt, Stefan Marinak, Joseph Tice, Tim Matthews, Carl Shedd. The rest of the top 10 with 57 laps complete. From Atlanta Motor Speedway, you're watching iRacing Live and Live Sim Racing TV.
Trucking has always been a part of me. It started years ago when my dad and granddad were hauling vegetables to market in Liverpool. The family immigrated to Canada in the late 60s and settled near Alliston, Ontario. I bought my first truck in 1982 and Mercer Trucking was born. Today, Mercer Trucking has over 50 trucks in terminals in Toronto and Los Angeles. Our storage facilities at both terminals can handle any size of distribution needs throughout North America. We service the continental U.S., including Hawaii and Alaska. We run over 120,000 miles per month and some of the best equipment on the road today. We specialize in less than truckload shipments, show freight, we do rush team service deliveries, and haul your refrigerated or heated product. Our regular team service from Canada to California is second to none, and our staff and drivers are among the best in the business. I'm proud of our people and what they can achieve. Trucking is in my blood, it's my livelihood, and it's what I do best.
Welcome back to the leaders are on pit road, but you're getting a look at the replay of why we're under caution with 59, make it 60 laps that went on the board when the caution came out. Trouble for Sean Boundy and Justin Michael Brian Macklin, who came in and I believe in your words just annihilated the 34 to put us under caution for the fourth time today.
Yeah, he didn't slow down as much as he probably should have when that caution came out, and as the 34 was wrecking, obviously the 34 could not control his vehicle, and when he bounced off that outside wall, he slid back down the track into traffic, and the three of Justin Michael just came in and just annihilated him, for lack of a better way of putting it. He just came in there and hit him and knocked him around and destroyed both of their cars, and most likely have taken them both out of the race for the evening. And while all that was going on, while we were showing you the replay, these guys did come down and get 4 fresh tires, not to anybody's surprise. Anthony DeBarro did win the race off pit road. David Comstock came out in second with Mitch Rollo third and Chad Cole fourth. So the top 4 did shake up just a little bit. David Comstock going to pick up a couple of spots, and Mitch Rollo is going to lose a spot. So it's going to be interesting to see how this restart pans out. You're going to have teammates on the inside lined up back to back.
Yes, you are, and since we are now working the halfway lap of tonight's Peach State Showdown at Atlanta Motor Speedway, we will take a look at our Gary Mercer Trucking midway race break here, and we will see the race leader as he has led all of what's going to be 63 of 125 laps complete. David Comstock rides second. Mitch Rollo, Chad Cole, Daniel Eberhardt, the top 5, followed by Thomas George, Stefan Marinac, Carl Shedd, nice run in 8th. Greg Evans, he's not been anywhere near the front of the field, but finds himself 9th right now, and good run for Tim Matthews still as well, riding top 10 after starting from the outside pole.
And just outside, you got Joseph Thies running in a number 11 spot. 12th is Dwayne Vincent. 13th right now, William Amaker with David Washington in 14th, up 26 spots from the start of the race. Behind him, Nelson Rivera 15th. A good gain for Nick Silver inside of the top 20 right now in 16th spot. 17th is Dan Murray. 18th, Jonathan Cadell. 19th is Scott Silly. Roscato still stuck back in 20th.
Jose Gonzalez in that meatball machine is 21st. Rich Jetty is in 22nd. Jason Lester is 23rd. Kevin Linden 24th. Rhett McBride is 25th. Brian Harvey sits in the 26th position. Rodney Perry is 27th. And after making contact with that outside wall, Nicholas Cohan fell back to 28th. He was up inside the top 15. He's dropped back now. Anthony Fredericks is 29th. And rounding out the top 30, Mike Kelly is in 30th.
Yeah, Sean Casto, 31st. Brennan Mercer, 32nd. Matt Lacrosse is 33rd. CJ LeBaire, 34th. And the last car on the lead lap, Scott Stenzel, after the wave around, is 35th. 36th, one lap down, Doug Roth. Steve Gottschalk, 3 down in 37th. So too, Sean Bounty in 38th. Justin Michael, 4 laps down in 39th. Those 2 cars expected to likely retire from this race. 40th is William Hale. 41st, 42nd, 43rd, all out of this race. Jimmy North, Bobby Terrell, Mark Bratcher round out a full field here tonight at the Atlanta Motor Speedway. We are gearing up for a restart between Anthony DeBarro and David Comstock on the front row. But we are not going green this time. We were prepared to go green, Brian, this time, but they flipped the lights back on, and we will go one more lap here.
Yeah, it looked like there was an accident with the 43 Doug Roth. He's having some connection issues, and as they were trying to line up, it looks like CJ LeVere probably couldn't see him, and there was an incident that brought out the delay of green. So, unfortunate set of circumstances, but it just gives these drivers another lap to try to sort everything out and get ready to go back green.
And we work down off turn 2 and onto the backstretch. Evan, I'm waiting. Somebody's got to get up here and wrest this lead away from Anthony DeBarro, or like you said, nobody would be able to do. He may just lead all 125 laps tonight.
Yeah, it's not out of the question. Again, I said at the beginning, not going to happen. Well, I might have to eat those words so far because we're now at the halfway point and we're going to start counting down. That means, though, they're going to get a lot more creative behind him. Comstock, Rollo, Eberhardt, Cole. They're not going to sit around, and we've seen a lot of 2-watt and some 3-watt. I said watch for that middle lane, though. Guys are going to start to get as brave as David Comstock has been all night, and that means it'll be fun.
Oh, it's about to be fun. That top 5, anybody in that top 5 or 6 can easily win this race. I go back to Thomas George on the outside of row 3. We're going to have 60 laps to go this time by as the American Ethanol green flag going to fly with 65 laps complete. Big restart for the Boomtown boys. DeBarro and Rollo time it perfectly. Get away. P1, P2, David Comstock back to 3rd by the time they got to the stripe. He's left to do battle with Chad Cole and Daniel Eberhardt off 2.
And that race goes down the backstretch to turn 3, getting things now back up to speed. Eberhardt get a dive to the inside. He'll get clear, then on it. The 8 wanted to do the same thing. Chad Cole bobbling in turn 4, sideways at least 3 different times, and he stays in the gas to be P5 at the start-finish on it. And now he goes right back down to where he's been comfortable. On the inside, challenge not going to come to fruition. No good run topside. Eberhardt, the defensive move in P4.
Yeah, Chad Cole has been just about flat sideways all night long in some form or fashion with that number 8 machine. He's hung on to it so far, but you gotta wonder how long he can keep doing what he's been doing. Out front, though, the 2 teammates have gotten away to a 6-car length advantage over the rest of the field. DeBarro trying to make something happen out in front, and Rollo really falling back now, make it 5-car lengths ahead for DeBarro, who is getting away here quickly. Back in the pack, though, some good racing going on amongst some of the guys back right behind Dan Murray. Side by side, 18th position, Ross Cato to the inside of Jonathan Cadell.
Yeah, I'm looking at these guys right now. Daniel Eberhardt just passed David Comstock about a lap ago for the 3rd position. It looks like David Comstock decided to let him go. I think David's back in that tire conservation mode again. He saw Daniel Eberhardt went to the inside about a lap ago, and he just very easily made the pass. And now he's sitting in 3rd, trying to run down the 2 Boomtown Sim teammates at the front. So far, this has worked out for them, running extremely hard and burning their stuff up. But if we ever get that long green flag run where they're going to have to worry about pitting under green, I think you're going to see it backfire for these guys. But so far, it's worked in their favor. We haven't had a long run longer than about 20 laps, so there has not been any issues so far. Daniel Eberhardt now has caught Mitch Rollo and is trying to work on that 2nd position. It's only a matter of time before he's going to take it.
Yeah, and while that's going on, another great battle inside the top 10, side by side for about what's going to be the 9th position or so. Greg Evans to the inside of Stefan Marinac, going to have the position at the stripe, and that's now a 4-car scramble for 8th. You've got Joseph Tice up there in the 25, and you get an onboard camera view of some of the really fun battling right here. Stefan Marinac, the onboard view as he's to the outside of Evans. That's a great battle for P9. And I'm telling you, that 99 is not willing to give it up, Evan. That Toyota Camry on the outside lane uses the momentum and overhauls Evans once again in 1.
And you can see that Greg Evans knew that he was at a disadvantage here because he jumped right up behind the 99 to get that arc into the corner. You may want to run the bottom, you may want to run the top side, that's fine, but everybody wants to start on the top. You want to be able to get that arcing dive into the corner. The 23 jumped up and then went right back down to the white line. It didn't work. And now he might just have to follow Stefan Marinac for a lap or two. Get that draft back, get some momentum built up, and maybe even try to adjust your line. Like we said, there's more rubber being put down from lap 1 through 73, and we've got plenty more to come still on the racetrack in the next 52 laps of competition. The next time by, you have to adjust. It's the driver that adjusts and stays ahead of the 8 ball that's going to be able to win this race, Jacob. A lot of the time, we critique the guy that has led the race all the way, because normally when you're out in front, you're not trying to make changes. Well, right now, that 9, he has been on top of it. In fact, he's half a second in front of Mitch Rollo. It is all Anthony DeBarro still.
Yeah, and you know, and Brian, we talk about what we saw at Daytona a week ago. Anthony DeBarro won that race 1 week ago and never led an official lap of competition. Tonight, he's trying to do just the opposite and lead every lap of competition.
Yeah, and that's not an easy feat, especially at a track like Atlanta. You typically see comers and goers, and he's led all 75 laps so far, 74 laps so far, and he's on his way to leading all 125. He's had the best car all night. He stayed out front, and if he can hang on for about 50 more laps, he's going to do it, and that would be... I almost want to say that might be a record book thing for RSR. I don't know if any one driver has ever led every single lap of a race here in the Full Throttle Cup Series. That's going to be something that'll be interesting to go back and look for. I might have to try to do that real quick and see if I can find it, because that might be a first for the Full Throttle Cup Series.
I want to say, Brian, and I'll let you go digging through the record books here for a couple of minutes, but I want to say that you may be correct on that. I'm not going to swear to it until I give you a chance to look, but I believe that there has never been a race in Full Throttle Cup Series history that you've had go wire to wire for a single driver. So a lot still to be decided, but a good race behind the leaders. You've got Chad Cole and David Comstock, who are wheel to wheel for position, the 8 and the 14 going at it for P4. Chad Cole gonna get it at the stripe and going to almost, now he's got it clear off turn 2 and headed for 3 as Comstock left to duel with Thomas George, who's come to life, going for 5th in 3 and 4.
That 24 machine, I tell you what, I like the strategy that he's taken into this race. Going to the inside, makes a clean pass on David Comstock. Hope we talked more about Comstock or George. We've been talking more about the number 14 Monster Energy Chevrolet because he's been really aggressive. The 24, though, just kind of sits back, waits for somebody to come to him, and he puts them down very quickly. That is now 17th to 5th. For that number 24 Napa Chevrolet, and he's looking for a top 4 spot right now to the bumper of Chad Cole. Not going to happen that time in turn number 4, but he's on him.
He is on him. I'm telling you. I said it earlier that Thomas was going to be somebody you were going to have to deal with for this race win late in the going, and he's really established a nice position here up inside the top 5. How about in the top 10 for Dave Washington? 40th to 10th, Evan. He's 2.5 seconds behind the leaders, but regardless of whether he gets all the way there, what an inspired drive by that 98 tonight.
Yeah, didn't put down a time in practice, didn't put down a time in qualifying, and he's 10th right now. Would he like to get a top 5 out of it? Sure. And the problem is, for a lot of these guys, he went from P40 to P10, and he got that rather quickly. The big thing that happens here now, though, is you got those spots for so long, you almost forget that, hey, I've passed 29 guys to get to where I sit at right now. He kind of feels like he still can get more. He can, but he's passed so many drivers, Jacob, that a P40 to a P10 at the end of the night would be great news. But since he's in P10 with 45 laps to go and not in P10 with 5 to go, he feels like that if he stays in P10 for the rest of the race, he's letting himself down. So that 98 machine, he knows there's plenty of time left on the board. He doesn't plan on staying there. He wants to keep going.
We're going to step away here on LSR TV, but stay tuned. We're going to go side by side so you don't miss a moment of the action, and come back for more from Hot Atlanta in a few moments. It's been all Anthony DeBarro and Mitch Rollo for the majority of tonight's Beat State Showdown from Atlanta Motor Speedway. The closing stages coming up after this. You're watching iRacing Live and LSR TV, the voice of sim racing. Welcome back to LSR TV, shaping up for a battle for the lead from Atlanta Motor Speedway. The RSR Full Throttle Cup Series presented by Gary Mercer Trucking and Sim Experience. Anthony DeBarro has led from the drop of the green flag, but this has been the most competition he has had all night long. 87 laps going on the board this time by, and the battle for the lead is really heating up. Not only has he got Mitch Rollo all over him, Daniel Eberhardt has clawed his way up to within 3 car lengths. 3-car battle for the lead across the stripe.
And talk about a wild go off of that restart again. They continue to do battle. The top three have taken off. They've set sail now as we come back. And the top three, half a second apart between them, but they're over 2 seconds in front of Comstock, Chad Cole, and company. So DeBarro, Rollo, and Eberhardt kind of in a battle of their own. They're in front. There is a huge pack of cars, though, around P10. Right now, the only double file sees on the outside of the racetrack the number 42 machine dropping back. That is Scott Stenzel, P34, and 1 lap down after he was involved in an accident earlier on in this race. So everybody trying to get by him. And once you have those lead lap cars jack up a little bit for a lapper, it gives the car behind them an opportunity and the car behind them an opportunity to make something happen. And that's why we find ourselves a couple of rows deep at 2 wide to 13 to 45. A good battle going on.
Yeah, and that is a good battle around Dwayne Vincent, Carl Shed. That is for the 7th position right now. And I got to give props to Dwayne. Evan, we documented he was 40th after an infield battle that sent him through the grass. An infield excursion, I think, was what I was trying to get at. And Dwayne from 40th at that point in the race, probably 20, 30 laps in, he's 7th now. I mean, this is what a champion does. He comes back, he fights, and he's closing on Thomas George for that 6th position. Oh, George, ducking the pit road right here. That was tight.
Atlanta's a hard track to get onto the pit lane for. You got to let the guys know behind you you're coming down. That wasn't much more than 2 feet to give, and that 24 just about got smoked. And I think with all of that going on, he was still able to get that machine wound up in time, but it was close.
Yeah, and that's going to open the floodgates right here. As soon as George went, all your leaders, Comstock, Eberhardt, Rollo, and now DeBarro, they're all making the dive right here. They don't want to get... Oh! Contact between the two teammates. Mitch Rollo gets into the back deck lid of Anthony DeBarro, entering pit road. There is going to be some words on the radio after that one, Brian. That was a hard shunt into the back end for the 9.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting. Not only is there going to be some words, but that could possibly cause Anthony DeBarro to get a speeding penalty because it did speed him up coming on the pit road, and it's very possible that it's going to cost him a speeding penalty. It'll be interesting to see once they get done with their pit service here. He's in his pit box now, and he's trying to get his 4 tires in fuel, and it does look like he's got a speeding penalty. Actually, no, he's down and away. He just had to sit there a little bit longer. Mitch Rollo is going to get the win the race off pit road, followed by Daniel Eberhardt right behind him. So I'm not sure what happened there. Very slow stop for Anthony DeBarro. He's not going to lead every lap of the race now. Granted, we had some guys stay out, but he's certainly not going to now.
Yeah, Dwayne Vincent actually took the lead at lap number 92, and Dwayne now going to duck onto the safety of pit lane and pass the lead over to, I believe, going to be the 98 of David Washington here for a moment, who assumes the point at lap number 93 and going to be credited with a bonus point for coming from 40th to take the lead in that Aegis Toyota Camry. He leads the way over Nick Silver and Jonathan Cadell, Tim Matthews, Matt Lacrosse, among those who have yet to be scored as coming down for pit service, but we expect all that to be happening very, very quickly, and we expect Mitch Rollo to cycle through when it's all said and done as the race leader in that number 96 pit stop Chevrolet. Nick Silver credited with leading a lap right here in the 51 machine now as we work 95. And you see, Evan, the disparity between old tires and new tires. I mean, they're blowing by Silver like he is standing still in that Gain Ford Fusion. And you got to wonder, how long does he wait? And he looks like he's coming right now. I mean, you cannot wait very long with these tires. They just get eaten alive out there.
Even if you stay out 1 lap, you're giving up 2 seconds to the guy that came down and got fresh tires before you. Sure, you can say that your tires are going to be better at the end of the next long run, but I don't think it's going to be enough to make up that time, which is why I'm a big fan of the short pitch strategy. And those guys that are still out there now, like a Jonathan Cadell, who's going to be coming down this time. Matt Lacrosse is 2nd. Rich Jett running in 3rd right now. You can see how easily the guys with tires are getting around him as Cadell comes down, gives the race lead over to that 21 machine. I like the short pit call. Question is that enough to make it to lap 125? You'd be looking at about a 30 lap run, which on these tires could be quite treacherous.
Yeah, it very well could be. And, you know, I'm surprised in a way that it took us this long to have a run of green flag pit stops tonight, Brian. But then again, when you look at the way the cautions had been timed, we never really had a long enough run to have that opportunity. But look at the pit work that Mitch Rollo did in the 96. He comes out with a full second lead over Daniel Eberhardt right here. That lead is going to get eaten up, I think, a little bit, but what a job by that crew to get him out ahead of the two guys he's been chasing the entire race long for the most part, and the two guys he's been battling for the win the entire race long. DeBarro now playing the hunter for the first time all night.
Yeah, I have to admit, I'm also very surprised it took this long to get a long green flag run like this in, and I think that's going to be our only set of green flag pit stops, because at this point, there's no sense in coming back to pit road for what, if they stretch it out to another 30 laps, they'd be coming in right before the checkered flag within about a 5-lap window. So these guys are going to take these tires and they're going to bring them home unless we have a caution. So now it's all about trying to manage your tires for the finish. You don't want to run too hard right now because you know this is your last set unless we get a caution. So for Daniel Eberhardt, yes, he wants to touch Mitch Rollo. Yes, he wants to try to pass Mitch Rollo, but he doesn't want to do it too quickly because he's going to eat his tires up. And we know how fast Anthony DeBarro has been. If he's able to get up there and get back to the lead, it might be a game over for these guys because he's had the best car all night. And if he can get back ahead of these guys, I don't think there's anybody that's going to be able to pass him.
Yeah, I think the only way that anybody was going to get to DeBarro and outsmart him for the win was on pit road, and Rollo just a lightning quick pit stop that they had on that 96 bunch. But Eberhardt is pushing his car to the max right now. It is down to 2.5 car lengths, and these top three under a blanket, just in a slightly different order than they have been for most of this race. Rich Jetty, the 36, the only car that has yet to come down pit road. The 36, 12.5 seconds up on these race leaders. That is going to be only about another 6 laps or so, not even, before they catch him. 2.5 seconds faster per lap as they go around Brian Harvey on fresh tires. That is a huge disparity, and here in about 3 more laps, they're going to have caught Jetty if he doesn't come down pit road.
And he could be in the advantage if you go to the end of the long run, as far as we talked about making it on these tires. If everybody else wants to pit again, then by Jetty staying out to this point, it's going to be his last pit stop no matter what. But I don't see anybody else coming down again. It'll be a long stretch at 30 laps, but I don't think it's long enough to the point where you want to split that into 2 stints of 15 or come down pit road another time. If we get a caution flag, that's a different story. But under the green, I don't think that's going to be a case. So Jetty's either going to come down to the pit lane or fall back enough to give up the race lead to Mitch Rollo. Again, the 96 took over the top spot after he and DeBarro got together onto the pit lane, and the 9 didn't even make a mistake coming into his stall. The 96 just outdrove him on the pit lane, was a little bit quicker in the stall, a little bit quicker coming off of the pit lane, which is contrary to what you would expect because DeBarro, pole sitter, number 1 pit stall, normally at the advantage. He fell behind Eberhardt as well, but Rollo, Eberhardt, and DeBarro are lined up nose to tail with about a car length separating all of them. So once Jetty falls off of that top spot, you're looking at a 3-car race for the win here in Atlanta. This next time by, going to be 21 laps to go if we stay green. It's going to be fun to see what these guys do. Right now, it's a game of cat and mouse. Who makes a move first?
Now, talking about cat and mouse, Brian, if you're Daniel Eberhardt, you're trying to play head games with these 2 Boomtown cars, knowing they don't want you in the picture for the race win. How much pressure are you applying? How much are you trying to get inside Mitch Rollo's stream of consciousness right here and try to force him to make a mistake going after this race win?
Well, I don't know how much of a mistake you can make him make. I think the bigger thing is try to make him push the harder than you need to try to make him use his tires, as they almost used that lap car as a pick to get by Daniel Eberhardt. He almost got trapped behind that slow lap car there, which could have created a lot of excitement and drama. That was very interesting there. That was Rich Jetty. I'm sorry, that wasn't even a lap car. That was the race leader, so my apologies for that. He was so much slower than these guys, I didn't even realize it. But yeah, so now we have Mitch Rollo back to the point. He's the race leader, and you've got Daniel Eberhardt sitting in second place trying to make him overdrive the car and use those tires up. That's about the only mistake you can make this guy make at this point. He's been flawless all night, so you have to try to intimidate him into doing that. And so far, I don't think it's really worked because Mitch saved his tires until these guys got there, and then he's basically just ran hard enough to hold on to the lead since then. So he's done a very good job at conserving his tires, and inside 20 laps to go now, I think you're going to see this pay off for him.
I don't know if I'm going to buy that just yet, Evan. If you're Daniel Eberhard, I think, got smoked down the back straightaway. One car way down to the inside, no caution. We're going to stay green. But if you're Daniel Eberhard, as we continue to watch this battle, I mean, I don't think he's out of this at all yet. I think that 90 still may well have something left in the tank here. He's trying to hang on to it, but you see Rollo just a skosh better that last time by. So maybe Brian's right. Maybe he has saved just enough.
I do want to note the car that or at least the smoke that we saw, came from the 04 Roddy Perry. He got turned around by Jonathan Cadell at a battle for 23rd on track. That spinning car was down below the apron, so there was no caution flag. The 90 machine is running in behind in the number 2 position. The question is Daniel E. Eberhard forcing Mitch Rollo right now, as they run right now, to be pushing that car to stay in front? Or is the 90 taking it easy and just kind of laxly just chilling back in a number 2 spot, and then you get to the final 10, then you get to the final 5, that's when you're going to go at it. Nonetheless, it is Mitch Rollo pulling away now, Brian, in turns 3 and 4. That advantage now 4 car lengths as we go on board with DeBarro, who sits behind it all in the number 3 spot.
Yeah, for the entire race, we have seen Anthony DeBarro out front. Now, as you ride on board with him, you see him trailing 2 guys that he needs to pass if he's going to win this race. He's undoubtedly led the most laps here tonight, and as we get to 16 laps to go, coming to 15 this time by, he is starting to slip out of the picture here. He's back to a half a second gap behind his Boomtown Sim teammate Mitch Rollo, and Mitch is looking like he's starting to expand that lead over both of these guys behind him. He's actually moved out to a little bit over 3/10, and as they cross the line here, actually Daniel Eberhard closed in just a hair. So right now they're running pretty even lap times, but that gap seems like it's starting to open up just a little bit. You see Mitch is getting a really good run off the corner. I do think he managed his tires better than the 2 behind him, and he's really making them have to drive harder just to keep up with him. So I think this was a good call by Mitch. Excellent move on pit road. That's going to be the move of the race, I do believe, as he's out front now and he's starting to pull away.
Yeah, and you know, I remember I said earlier in this race that I thought the 96, if he could ever get out in front, was going to be very, very hard to beat. And this is the car, Evan, that everybody in the pit area has said, you got to beat the 96 if you're going to win here. You're going to win at Charlotte, because he's just so good on these style of racetracks. But just as we say that, maybe a last gasp effort from Daniel Eberhard. He's closed it back down to about 2 car lengths again. Maybe one more shot at it.
Yeah, they're going to continue to surge a little bit. They're not going to run lock, stow, and tent with each other for, the final 15 laps. But I think the big thing is the 90 fell back with the non, but he closed in. Again, he has that draft advantage at a track like Atlanta. You're on the gas a lot, especially at the beginning of a run. Right now, these cars aren't handling as good. But even though they're sideways, even though they're moving around the track, if you want, you can control that car with the throttle. You don't have to back off and feather it off the quarter if you don't want to. These guys could be up on the wheel. I think Eberhard knows, though, he's got to go. 12 laps to go that time by, and he knows the caution flag procedures. Caution with less than 4 to go, the race is over. A yellow now means pit stops. He wants to get to the race lead sooner than later. He can't wait till the white flag to set it up. He's got to get there. He's got to get there now. Every single lap going by is an opportunity lost.
Yeah, coming to 11 laps to go this time. He is working over the line right behind Mitch. He's been in his tire tracks in some places, to the outside trying to roll some momentum in others. The gap is a quarter second right now with 11 laps to go. These guys have nearly 5.5, 6 seconds over Thomas George in 4th, but Anthony DeBarro has fallen off the train. He's now almost a second behind in the 3rd position. It looks like it's going to come down to these 2. Rollo and Eberhard for the win at Atlanta, this time by 10 laps to go.
10 to go right there for Mitch Rollo. Try to make it around just a couple of more times. DeBarro now out of the picture almost. He's a second back. Not to mention, guys, we've been talking about the top three pull it away. The last time we really touched on it, it was a 3-second advantage. It's almost over 6.5 seconds back to Thomas J. George in fourth. Comstock and Company, which, by the way, that is a great battle with George, Comstock, Vincent, Marinette, Cole, all fighting inside of the top 10. Those are 5 drivers within 0.7 of a second of each other. They do battle as we await the leaders to see if they can mix it up one final time.
Eberhardt is almost mirroring Rollo's lap times to the 100th, some cases to the 1,000th of a second right here. Chevrolet versus Toyota coming to 8 laps to go. Rollo and Eberhardt not ready to give up this fight at all. It's a 1/4 second exactly between the two of them last time by. Rollo this time by going to be 12 miles from home.
And he loses more time that time around. The gap is still within 3 car lengths. And you see on the bottom, that's what fresh tires look like. Nick Cohan, 4 laps down, just coming off of the pit lane. So that's how much our leaders have slowed already in the last 20 laps since they were down on the pit lane. So yeah, well, pitting would make that car handle a lot better. It takes a lap to get out off the speed, down under the pit lane surface, get back out and get back going. It is not worth it at this point. And Eberhardt starting to lose it. That car not staying underneath him entirely. He's running right now on everything that he's got, while that 86 still looks composed.
Yeah, it's down now to going to be 6 laps to go. He almost got the wall. Maybe did Brian get a piece of it in turn 2 that time by. So we're going to be 9 miles from the house here. And how about behind these leaders? Dwayne Vincent, 40th to 4th after an off-road excursion earlier in this race. What a rebound for the reigning champ.
Yeah, how about that? As David Comstock gets a big piece of the wall off turn 4 that last time by. He was trying to make a battle here with number 2. Actually, I do believe the number 2 is a lap car that was trying to get by him, and he just got up into the turn 4 wall and has heavy damage. That's going to hurt his chances in the closing laps. Fortunately for him, he's
Daniel
And that 90
Eberhardt
machine falling away, Jacob. I don't think he's got anything left.
No, I don't think he does either. He's fallen way
Daniel.
off now, coming to 4 laps to go this time by. Got Sean Casto between he and Rollo. For Rollo, this is going to be a big night. New colors on board for all 4 Boomtown Sim cars this season. But for Rollo, he's wanted to master these intermediate tracks. He got a win on a road course last year. Got a win during the chase as well to help out his chances. But this track, Atlanta, Charlotte, those are 2 tracks he has wanted to get wins at in the Full Throttle Cup Series because he so likes the style of racing. Hasn't been able to do it. Tonight, though, is going to be a little bit of redemption. He's come close to winning at Charlotte twice. Hasn't been able to do it. Tonight at Atlanta looks like it may be the night for his 3rd career series victory. 3 laps, 4.5 miles to go for time by. Dan Eberhardt half a second back and falling away.
And now we're within that point that a caution would end this race. So this is the run to the finish. Eberhardt has fallen off. He's a half a second away. That still doesn't mean that Mitch Rollo is home free. He cannot make a mistake either. You can't start to kind of let those muscles untense down and go to the finish of this one. You're going to take 2 laps to go this time by. He is still there. 2 more clean laps. All you need is 3 more miles. It's Rollo in front of Eberhardt.
So 96 comes Brian to 0.8 of a second lead with 2 laps to go. And if you're Mitch Rollo now, you can taste this victory here, and it's going to be a pretty sweet one. This puts 2 Boomtown Sim cars in the chase in the first 2 weeks of the season after they had to earn it in the final weeks of the season last year coming to the white flag, Brian. Big opening to the season for this team.
Yeah, that's exactly how you want to start if you're a team. And for Mitch Rollo, he's got to make 1 more lap cleanly, and he's going to come home with a victory and a lock spot in the chase. Daniel Eberhardt trying to do everything he can, but he's just too far behind, dirt tracking, and just trying to hang on at this point to bring home a 2nd place finish. Great run for all these guys, though.
Yeah, it's been a fun night. Eberhardt 1.3 seconds back, but for the native of Canada, Mitch Rollo, going to come off turns 3 and 4 and etch his name for the third time in the RSR Full Throttle Cup Series record books. Mitch Rollo, a winner at Atlanta by about a second and a half as they come to the line. Daniel Eberhardt crosses second. DeBarro, Dwayne Vincent, Chad Cole, the top 5. Mitch Rollo gets it done, and Evan, the celebration is on for that 96 team.
We questioned, can DeBarro go all the way? And it turns out that pit road, we made it all the way through green flag pit stops late in the race. And out of everything, and out of all of the work that he did under the green flag, contact between the teammates, which I think, and we mentioned, maybe stir up a little bit of controversy, but I don't think that it was Rollo getting into the back of him. It's not like he shoved the 9 out into the grass. I mean, those guys, they got together, they recovered, and the 96 executed on pit road and then held on the racetrack when it mattered. He didn't lead all 125. He led when it mattered the most. Mitch Rollo clutch tonight.
Yes, he does, as 2 wins last season and now a win early in the 2016 season makes it 2 Boomtown Sim cars already in the chase for the Full Throttle Cup. We will talk with Rollo here coming up in just a few minutes. Again, a big night for that team. We will hear from Boomtown Sim, Daniel Eberhardt among the podium finishers, and all that coming up here in just a few minutes on the LSR TV post-race show from the Atlanta Motor Speedway. Mitch Rollo, a winner in the Peach State. We're back with more in just a moment. From Atlanta Motor Speedway, you're watching LSR TV, the voice of sim racing.
Trucking has always been a part of me. It started years ago when my dad and granddad were hauling vegetables to market in Liverpool. The family immigrated to Canada in the late 60s and settled near Alliston, Ontario. I bought my first truck in 1982 and Mercer Trucking was born. Today, Mercer Trucking has over 50 trucks and terminals in Toronto and Los Angeles. Our storage facilities at both terminals can handle any size of distribution needs throughout North America. We service the continental U.S., including Hawaii and Alaska. We run over 120,000 miles per month and some of the best equipment on the road today. We specialize in less than truckload shipments, show freight, we do rush team service deliveries, and haul your refrigerated or heated product. Our regular team service from Canada to California is second to none, and our staff and drivers are among the best in the business. I'm proud of our people and what they can achieve. Trucking is in my blood, it's my livelihood, and it's what I do best.
Welcome back to LSR TV and iRacing Live, wrapping up race 2 for the RSR Full Throttle Cup Series presented by Gary Mercer Trucking and Sim Experience here on iRacing Live and LSR TV. Getting it done. Mitch Rollo, a big win for the British Columbia, Canada native as he goes to victory lane tonight in the number 96 Pit Stop News Chevrolet. What a night it was, too, for him. You know, Evan, a lot of pit strategy, and I'll head down towards the pit road and post-race festivities while you guys take a look at the final full field results.
It was really a top three show at the end there. Rollo, Eberhardt, DeBarro, they pulled away, and there were no late race fireworks as they come home in that order, with DeBarro coming home to third position, and Eberhardt, the runner-up, who fell off late as Mitch Rollo picks up the checkered flag. Behind them, Dwayne Vincent comes home inside at the top five after starting 28th with B4, and Chad Cole on a top five finishing position. Greg Evans coming home tonight in sixth position. Behind him in seventh was Thomas George, tonight's biggest mover from 36th to 8th position. Nick Silver, P9 for Joseph Lace, and then David Comstock rounding out your top 10.
11th tonight, going to roll onward to the Jose Gonzalez machine. Carl Shedd is 12th, 13th Scott Simley, 14th to Jonathan Cadell, Tim Matthews 15th, 16th David Washington, 17th Ross Cato, 18th Nelson Rivera, 19th to William Amaker. Dan Murray started strong in the top five, 20th at the checkered flag though.
21st tonight, going to go home to, and second last on the lead lap, Matt Lacrosse. Anthony Fredericks rounds out your lead lap competition. 23rd, Sean Casto, Jason Lester in 24th, 25th for Rhett McBride, as well as P26, Stefan Baranek, Rich Jetty, Brian Harvey, Kevin Linden, and Scott Stenzel, all as well, one lap down inside the top 30.
Yeah, Rodney Perry 31st, Brennan Mercer 2 laps down in 32nd. 33rd, Mike Kelly, 34th, CJ LeVere, Nick and the last car running in 35th, all out of the race from 36th on back. William Hale, Doug Roth, Steve Gottschalk, Sean Boundy, Justin Michael, Mark Bratcher, Jimmy North, Bobby Terrell through the field of 43. But the pole sitter, the driver who dominated, led 90 laps of this race, comes up short though in the end, and our Brian Macklin standing by with Anthony DeBarro.
Yeah, I've caught up with the number 9. He finishes third after starting on the pole. Anthony DeBarro, not the race you wanted to have after starting up front and leading a lot of laps early on. You come home in a third place finish. What happened on that last round of green flag pit stops that cost you the race and ultimately cost you a shot at the victory?
Well, first I want to say congrats to Mitch. That's awesome that we got 2 out of 4 cars locked in the chase already. But what happened was we had a little incident on pit road, me and Mitch, and I had a 15-point something second pit stop, and that just put me behind those guys, and we were so equal you couldn't even pass each other.
Yeah, and I was going to get to that 2 cars in the chase after 2 races. It's batting a good average for you guys. Can you get all 4 in the chase? Obviously, that's your plan, and it's looking good. Yeah, we have 2 of your drivers in the chase right now. Obviously, like you said, after 2 races, what's your plans to try to get the other 2 drivers in the chase in the next few weeks?
I'll just keep doing what we're doing. Keep having good practices, qualifying up front, and running up front is where you stay out of trouble, and you got to manage your tires and stuff, and be there at the end. And we seem like we got it down pretty good, and hopefully with this new build coming out, we're still on top.
And looking ahead to Las Vegas, what do you feel your chances are at Las Vegas? Can you get a second win in the season there?
Well, hopefully that's the goal every week, is to come in to win. So we'll see what happens. I'm really pumped about having a first and third to start the season. That's really, really good, and I'll take top 5s every week.
All right, Anthony, and real quick before we let you go, just want to give you a chance to say thank you to your sponsors and give any shout-outs to any friends or family at home.
I'd like to thank Finn and Caterpillar. It wouldn't be possible without them coming on board for this year. We got them on board all year. Boomtown Sin, obviously, we elevate each other to a whole nother level. It's insane. And I'd like to thank Chris from Boomtown, Jared, Mitch, and boss man Corbin. He's on vacation. That's why he wasn't with us this week. And you guys in the booth do a great job at LSR TV and RSR. What can I say about them? They just have incredible service for us.
All right, thank you, Anthony. I just want to take a second to mention that you are the unofficial points leader after tonight's race, so congratulations for that. We're going to go ahead and move on down to the second place finisher, where I believe Evan Pasoko, you've caught up with Daniel Eberhardt.
He made it a fight to late in this race, but it was not enough to put up a late race challenge to Mitch Rollo. Daniel E. Eberhardt comes home tonight, P2, at the Atlanta Motor Speedway, Daniel. And it was a hard-fought P2 for you guys, for sure. Started inside of the top 5, up there in the conversation all night long, and you did what you needed to do, and that was be there at the end. Just not enough left in the tank to get after Mitch Rollo there. Walk us through that one, though, for a solid finish.
Yeah, it was a tough race all around. Atlanta's a very tricky track, running the outside in 1 and then down low in 3 and 4. So it was very tricky, and just when he got out there off of pit stops and got up to about a second, I just kind of started driving real hard and lost rear grip in the rear tires, and it didn't want to stick about 10 laps to go, so I couldn't find a way to get to him.
This race, we knew it was going to be an exciting one because Atlanta, with the tire degradation, provided many challenges. We didn't get, though, that run through green flag pit stops till late. Is that what you guys were expecting? And how did that kind of dictate the strategy in this one with having to, I wouldn't say a fair share of yellows earlier on in this race, but throughout the opening 2/3 of it, the runs were being broken up by a lot of yellow flag service, which meant that everything was rather calm with 4 tires and fuel under the caution flag. How did that play a factor in your strategy tonight?
Played a huge factor because I would let all them guys go by on the starts with them first couple cautions we had, and let them go out there and just burn their stuff up, and then I knew they would come back to us. That was the whole plan throughout the guys down there, the team. We were sitting there wondering if they were going to ever get green flag pit stops, and the last run we finally got it, but at that moment, you had to go for it, and I didn't know really what to expect when I got to that edge of burning it up. And now I know it's really no rear grip in the rear tires.
Well, tonight for you guys, a much-needed solid finish. You walk away with now a couple of points added tonight, and you're going to bump yourself up to 21st in the points. So, not the start that you guys necessarily wanted in the last couple of weeks in Daytona, getting things back on track here tonight. And we head to another intermediate racetrack next week at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. What's the key going into round number 3 to keep this momentum up, keep gaining ground?
Well, I'm not really sure. I don't know when the new build's coming out or the low downforce is going to make the car change any. Just going to have to test a lot. Test, and test some more. So just see what we got against these guys. They're pretty strong, Boomtown is, but I think we got something up our sleeve a little bit.
It was a solid P2 for the number 90 team tonight. Daniel E. Eberhardt on the podium. Sir, before we let you go, the sponsors, the shout-outs, all of those good people behind the scenes who makes it happen for you.
Yeah, I got to thank my little alliance team down there just coming together. Carl, Dave, and Joseph. They're hard drivers, and they've taught me a lot. And I got to thank iPon Gaming for coming on for sponsorship for first round of the segments. And I got to thank my grandma who sits in the other room, and LSR TV. Y'all do a phenomenal job, and RSR for being one of the top leagues.
Well, I'll tell you what, you put on a good show for her tonight, Daniel. P2 at the Atlanta Motor Speedway. Thanks for sticking around and chat with us. Again, congratulations to you for a good result here tonight at the Atlanta Motor Speedway. Best of luck. We'll see you in Vegas.
Thank you.
P2 for the number 90 Bashid, and for Mitch Rollo, it was the trip to victory lane. Mitch Rollo just too much at the end for Daniel E. Eberhardt or Anthony DeBarro, Jacob, to do anything with. You're down pit side with tonight's winner.
Yeah, we got this done a whole lot sooner this year than we did last year. I think it wasn't till Watkins Glen last year that he was able to celebrate. Tonight, he does it in race 2. Mitch Rollo. Before we talk about the final run where you pulled away from Daniel Eberhardt, I want to talk about what got you the lead ultimately, and kind of an unfortunate scenario because it involved a little bit of in pit road between you and Anthony, who was leading the race at the time. You get him a little bit out of shape and then go on to have a really good pit stop, get out in front of these guys. What happened from your point of view coming on to pit road? Because it looked like you were just trying to gut it out for all it was worth right there.
Yeah, I mean, I just misjudged it a little bit coming on a pit road, and luckily it didn't cause too much damage to either of our cars. And I mean, I had to have been close to speeding as well, so I'm very fortunate that I didn't mess that up as well.
walk me through the last run, because you guys had the fresh tires and you had to work for it. Anthony was there for a while, and Dan really came after you there until about 5 to go when you were finally able to start pulling away from him. How much pressure did you have from behind over the tail end of that race? Because it looked like you saved the tires just enough, but you really couldn't breathe easy until that last little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I saw that when I come off pit road that Anthony and Eberhardt there were about 2 seconds back, so I figured, if I save my tires for a few laps here, hopefully it'll help me, in the long run. And then when Eberhardt got to about 0.2 or 0.3 back of me there, I really had to pick up my pace, or else he was going to pass me. And I think if he would have passed me, it would have been hard to get back by him. So I knew it was key to stay out front, but I also had to balance that and save the tires as well. So that was obviously really tough. And then saving at the start of that run really paid off at the end there, as I pulled them by about a second and a half. So, it was a lot of fun racing Daniel. Thanks to him for racing me clean.
It was a fun night. This package and this track at Atlanta is always a ton of fun watching, people struggle to hold the tires on it. And the new build is coming with the lower downforce package. How excited are you to hopefully have more races like what we had tonight, where you really have to wheel it and, have some of these races play out where it seems like, we see you be in your wheelhouse at tracks like Atlanta, like Charlotte, where you really have to kind of muscle these cars around the racetrack. And I have to imagine this is only going to get even better for you.
Yeah, I mean, judging by how it went tonight, it was, it seems to suit my driving style pretty good. The start of this week, I wasn't very good. I was off. I was having a hard time keeping the tires under it, but I put my nose to the grindstone and just practiced all week long. I practiced so hard. I think I put in over 600 laps of racing this week, and it definitely paid off for me.
Big night for you, Mitch. I know a lot of people go into this, and your team owner's not even here to celebrate with you tonight, but who gets it done and who do you need to thank?
Yeah, it seems like every time Corbin's gone, we win, which is weird. But no, I got to thank turn2news.com and the pitstopnews.com for coming on all season long on the number 96. Huge thanks to Ben Kilcrease for that. Got to thank my teammates. I got to thank Jared Como. Anthony was a huge help also this week. Obviously Corbin, Chris Hurlow, it's just, and also Raul Alvis, he helped me quite a bit. Last night we got in a session together, so big thanks to him as well. This was a team effort. Our strength showed for sure tonight, and I hope we can keep it up.
Yeah, some pro-level help coming into Boomtown for 2016, and it's really showing. 2 races, 2 wins, 2 different drivers. Mitch Rollo gets it done tonight. Mitch, congratulations. We'll see you in Vegas.
Thanks, guys.
All right, Evan. I'll throw it back upstairs to you and Macklin before I climb up there and close it. Final thoughts from you guys?
It was an Atlanta race. These races can go either way. I think we got out of here lucky in the fact that this race could have given us a lot more junk than it did, but it also could have been a little bit on the cleaner side. Again, you have that only green flag pit cycle coming towards the end of the race, something that you weren't really expecting, and just as we started to accept the fact that maybe DeBarra was going to lead this entire thing, he loses it on the pit lane. So Atlanta always finds a way to surprise us. It did so tonight as well, and Mitch Rollo, a well-deserved win. Happy to see those guys inside of the top 3 make it a race to the end. A lot of the time you'll see these guys stretch them out green, and there's really no challenge. And well, Eberhardt wasn't quite fast enough to get to him. The top 3 were nice and tightly packed there in that final run. We're looking forward to Low Downforce. You think it's fun now, you just wait.
Yeah, that's what I'm excited to see, the low downforce package when iRacing releases that, hopefully here in the next couple of weeks. That's what we're really looking forward to. Tonight was a great race, and it was certainly a lot of fun to watch with Mitch and Anthony and Daniel up at the front, and the comers and goers. Dwayne Vincent making his move through the field after having his issues and falling all back to 40th. He gets up inside the top 10. Great run for him. Great finish for the defending series champion. Looking forward to Las Vegas next week. That's going to be a lot of fun. That's another 1.5 mile cookie cutter track where tires are going to play a factor. It won't be as big of a factor as they were here tonight at Atlanta, but it's going to be a good race. It should be a very exciting race. You're going to see multi-grooves again, just like we did here tonight at Atlanta Motor Speedway. And if there's any indication of how the season has started off, the Boomtown Sim guys, they're looking pretty good, and I don't think you're going to see any less from them next week at Las Vegas. I have a feeling you're going to see those guys up front competing for yet another victory here in the Full Throttle Cup Series.
Keep an eye on Chris Hurlow next week is all I'm going to say. I think he's going to be really motivated after seeing both his teammates go to victory lane early on in the 2016 season. So next, and we keep it going. The next race for the RSR Full Throttle Cup Series going to be in Las Vegas. We do hope to see you there as we get one step closer to the chase for the championship. That is 1 week from tonight, March 7th at 9:30 p.m. Eastern, right here on iRacing Live and LSR TV. Right now, though, for Evan Pasoko, Brian Macklin, Cisco Scaramouza down in the production trailer, John Abbott, Brennan Mercer, and all the folks at RSR that help make this show possible, I'm Jacob Seelman, congratulating Mitch Rollo on a dominant victory in the closing stages tonight at Atlanta, and saying we'll see you next week in Sin City. Keep it off the wall until we meet again, and we will see you next time right here on the web. Good night from Hotlanta.